Hey there, in this video, we're going to talk about how you can get more bums on seats at your next event. So let's dive in. Thanks so much for joining. It's Mandy Brasser from Streamline for Success, and I'm going to cover off some of the content that I went through at the Digital Marketer Down Under event in August 2018 on the Gold Coast. And there's a link here to access the guide as well as some other resources to get you more attendance at your upcoming event. So one of the things that we focused on at the event, and what I talk about a lot with our clients, is often the time of when you're running events, you want to get the most amount of people at the event. It costs a lot of money, it's a lot of effort and energy to put on an event, so you want to maximize it as much as possible. Now, oftentimes, and we see this happen all the time, you often think that the best way to get more bums on seats is to get more registrations, right? And in some cases, yes, that's true. However, I really wanted to focus on something that's within your control and that you can effectively impact with little money as possible. We all know, I'm sure you're aware of this too, is running Facebook ads and running any type of advertising at the moment is a lot more expensive than what it was 6 months ago, even a couple of years ago. So you want to look at ways in which you can maximize the people that register. So really what we did was I focused on this critical timeline for an event. So we go from the point of view of when somebody who registers for an event to them actually attending, making sure that they show up. Now, the time in which passes through those two milestones can vary. That could be minutes, maybe for a webinar, or hours for a webinar, to potentially days, weeks, or even months for a live event. So you need to factor in, what are you going to do between the time of people saying and putting their hand up, maybe paying some money or at least registering themselves, saying, yes, I want in for this event, whether it's a webinar or a live event, to them actually showing up and getting a bum on seats at a physical event or getting them to jump online for a webinar. So there's actually a couple of key timeframes in this whole journey. And it's firstly that point that they register, so the thank you page, and really anything up to sort of 48 hours after they register. And that's such a critical time to validate their decision and also get them to put it in their diary, get them excited, get them engaged and committed to actually taking the steps that they need to take to make it to the event. The second critical time is in the lead up to the event. Now, if you're running an online event, it could be in the hours before, it could be in the day before, or if it's a physical in-person event, it could be days or weeks before as well. So the time frame does depend on the nature of the event, and it also depends on the type of event. If it's a brand new kind of lead generation event versus a client delivery type event, fulfillment event, then that also factors in here as well. So you want to think about, what can you do along this path? Because ultimately, people can drop off at any point, whether they tell you about it or not, right? I think we've all been in the situation, we sign up for something, we have the best intentions, and sometimes life gets in the way, or we've got other competing priorities that we need to juggle things around, and we're just not going to make it. So we need to think about, what can we do over this timeline to help keep our registrants excited, engaged, and committed to actually attending. Now, something that I talk a lot about with our clients is understanding the overall goal that we want to achieve from the event. Now, in a lot of cases, our clients run lead generation type events or low entry events that they're getting leads in, and the ultimate goal is to get them to sign up for a particular program. And this is what I wanted to share with you today, because if we look at the fact that, we go back for a second, if we look at what we can do between that registered point and the attended point, if we get an extra 10% that show up to an event, what does that actually mean on the back end of our business? And I wanted to share these numbers with you as an example. Let's just say we have 100 registrations for an event, and our current show up rate is we get 30 of those show up. That could be terrible in your industry, or really great. I've just made up these numbers, right? So just keep that in mind. I mean, typically 30% to a webinar as a minimum is not too bad. So this could be a webinar offer as an example. So let's say we have 100 registrations to the webinar, we get 30 people that actually attend, and that's a 30% attendance rate. So on the back of that webinar, we're actually offering a $5,000 mastermind. And let's just say that we convert at 10%, so that's 3 people that have signed up, and that generates $15,000 worth of business on the front end. That, of course, doesn't include the value on the back end, the long-term value of that customer or client, but it gives you an idea about, okay, this is where we're at with that particular event. So if we look at the target, let's just say that we're going to use exactly the same numbers, but we're going to boost our attendance by 10%, as you can see here. So we've gone from 30% to 40% with a 10% increase. So what does that mean on the back end? It means we actually get an additional sign up, and we've got an additional $5,000, and that equals to 20%. Now, this could be quite conservative, this 10% figure. You might be able to look at what you're doing in that event timeline and the journey and the experience that you're creating for your registrants, and you might be able to increase that by 15%, by 20%, even 30%. I know there's a particular strategy that we've mentioned in our event booster, attendance booster guide, that a business recently boosted their attendance by 30%. Can you imagine getting an extra 30% that show up at your next event? Good stuff, hey? So what can you do in that experience to help generate greater attendance? And here I'm not even looking at what you're doing on the back end. How are you selling? What follow-up are you doing after the event, or even at the event? How can you convert more of those sales? So this is just purely looking at boosting that one number of getting more bums on seats. So really wanted to highlight this for you and talk about and really get you thinking about what that experience is going to be like for your registrants, so you can help drive them to actually showing up on the day. So really, what action will you take to get more bums on seats? Maybe you're running your first event, you've had the experience that no one has showed up for one of your events, whether it's a webinar or online, or whether you've got a handful of people coming already and you just want to fill those extra few seats, or you want to get to the goal of fully packing out your rooms with your next event. So look, if you want further information, check out our free resources there. We've got our event attendance booster. We're going to talk about the 10 strategies that we have seen work incredibly effectively for the clients that we work with. And you can get more resources at streamline4success.com.au/more bums on seats. Thanks so much. It's Mandy Brasser here from Streamline for Success, and look forward to speaking with you soon.